So when he said the line about your teeth tumbling out, you ain't feel the type of way.
I got my teeth. That's an old joke. That was corny. They didn't tumble out. But if they did, that was 2 years ago. That's so 2 years ago. I was just more like so shocked that he's broke. If he hasn't said anything in 20 years, why you think he's starting out? And this is another thing about Jay that I still wonder about, being that he wants to be funny. Jay's breath always used to stink. And you know why? Because for some reason, don't you hate when niggas got bad breath and chew Big Red? It just cinnamon doodle.
Dre Lloyd, what's up? Drama King is in the building.
Real talk.
You're not trying to be a part of the dumb shit.
Real topic. Peace, what up, YouTube? Real talk. Welcome to Straight Lace Network. Peace, what up, YouTube? It's your host, Dre Lloyd, new face in New Jersey, and you are now tuned into Straight Lace Network. Before we get started tonight, make sure if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, just so every time I put up a new video, you get notified when I drop it so you can stay tuned into what we have going on. And also, make sure at the conclusion of this video, you just leave some comments. Let's get some dialogue going. Let me get some feedback, and we can go ahead and go build from there. So tonight, we are talking about Dame Dash and his recent interviews on the Art of Dialogue. He had a couple things to say about Jay-Z, obviously, and about what Jay-Z said about him at the Roots picnic as of recent. And I honestly wanted to actually take and point out a few things. Dame Dash, first and foremost, I definitely respect him as an entrepreneur. I respect him as a businessman, and you can't take away anything that he's done over the past, 20 plus years in this music industry as far as his contributions are concerned, with the artists that he actually discovered, the projects that he executive produced, and, people who he's actually given the opportunity, Kevin Hart being one of them, Kanye West being another. If you ask me, in both of those industries, two of the biggest stars that you can actually name. These are people who you can't, when you're talking about in the industry of comedy or, in the music industry, these are two names that you can't, talk about, that you can't not talk about in those lanes when it comes to those professions. But one thing one of the main things that I wanted to talk about today, and again, this is no assassination to his character or anything like that, but I feel like it's important to highlight when some people aren't really keeping it 100, in my personal opinion. And what I mean by that is this. He's made some comments about Jay-Z and his character. Certain things that I feel as though, and Charlamagne as well too. I'm going to touch on that too. There's a couple things that I do feel as though that he was kind of immature, when it came to addressing, what Jay said about him at the Roots picnic. And I think honestly, when it comes to the audience, I'm talking about his viewers, his fans, people who's following not only him as an individual, but who are tuned in to these channels like Art of Dialogue, like Vlad TV, so on and so forth, these different platforms on YouTube. I think it's a form of manipulation when it comes to not only manipulation, but also deflection, when it comes to actually addressing a real issue at hand. So if you think about it, I think this is back in, let me just double check just to make sure, but I think this is back in 2013 when Dame actually did his first Breakfast Club interview. And no, I'm sorry, 2015. It was March 13th of 2015. And during this interview, he coined the term that everybody's familiar with now, chatty patty. And what it meant to be a chatty patty is somebody who's actually just, talking about and discussing and putting value in to information that aren't really into information that hasn't been solidified as being true. And so therefore, when it comes to engaging in gossip, people would now be considered chatty patties, as he would like to say. And to me, that's information that's not relevant. When it comes to discussing certain topics, who cares about somebody's having a bad hair day, if somebody has, can't dress or whatever. Let's get to the real issue at hand that's actually on the table. And that was one of the main things that I'm not going to say one of the main things, but one of the things that I felt as though he was highlighting when it came to addressing what Jay had to say about him. And yeah, Jay had like a little bit of had a joke about, his teeth when he was actually online. Dame Dash, if you hadn't look up the video, he was online, he was talking, and then just, his top dentures or whatever actually fell out his mouth. It was kind of funny, but, nonetheless, he just made a comment about that happening. And so, Dame had, pretty much kind of, I would say, somewhat went on a mini campaign expressing how, you know, Jay had bad breath, you know what I'm saying, about, you know, him not being able to dress and it was over. I'm not saying that this part about him dressing was a response to his freestyle, but, you know, he made multiple comments about Jay not being able to dress and it was over when he had the button ups and the fitted hats and the Yankee fitted hats and everything. And I thought that was kind of irrelevant when it came to, you know, what Jay said about him. And the reason why I say that is because, again, we talked about him doing his first interview initially about Jay, and he didn't really get too much into detail about his falling out in the Breakfast Club interview. So I don't want to, you know, misrepresent what he said during that interview. But nonetheless, him saying or addressing the fact that, you know, hey, Charlemagne is a chatty patty because he's just talking about rumors and gossip. When it came down to his recent interviews over the past 11 years about Jay, that's all we've pretty much been hearing about him. Yes, has he been given insight about some, you know, intricate details about, as far as business is concerned, as far as his falling out with Jay Rockefeller, his discrepancies with him and Lior and Kevin Lyles, people who had somewhat of a influence, as he would like to believe, or as he believes was, you know, detrimental and I would say even more instrumental to Rockefeller's breakup. You know, outside of that, you know, a lot of what he said, in my personal opinion, is very immature. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is because I think we can all use this as a lesson on what not to do. And again, I'm not saying that he should be, you know, the poster child on what not to do when it comes to business or when it comes to, you know, addressing issues in the past, when it comes to falling out with your, you know, previous business partners and things like that. But, you know, things have pretty much gotten, in my personal opinion, pretty ugly between him and people who are still, you know, riding with, you know, Jay-Z. And again, I think that at this stage in the game, him being probably in his 50s, I'm assuming, you know, the back and forth, I think that it's very, it's definitely something that, you know, is a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. For people who don't really have anything else going on, it's definitely entertaining because, you know, everybody likes to laugh. And when you taking, you know, crack jokes on people about them not being able to dress and, you know, some of the shortcomings that they have behind the scenes, again, that's not really relevant, you know, to, you know, what's really going on. But one thing that I would, you know, really wanted to touch on is that he, in all of his interviews, are talking more about what happened in the past 25 plus years ago, what he initially said in the Breakfast Club interview that he didn't want to talk about. He wanted to talk about, you know, things that he had going on currently. He's been spending a lot more time addressing those things along with jokes, you know, that he's had about Jay. I don't want to say Kanye West, but I'll just focus on Jay for right now. But he's been, you know, talking a lot about Jay in a way to where I feel as though it was like really high schoolish, you know, if that makes any sense. Things that you would focus on as a, you know, in middle school or high school about somebody, again, not being able to dress and things like that or whatever. I don't want to keep harping on that, but nonetheless, I think that he's spending a lot more energy on that gossip or being, you know, that person that he describes as being a chatty patty, more than he is actually focusing on, you know, what he has currently going on. I'm not saying there's not videos out there, but when you look at how many videos he has about what he has currently going on as far as his business endeavors are concerned, compared to what he's actually talking about, you know, in the past Rockefeller days, I would say one topic kind of outweighs the other. I mean, if you put Dame Dash's, you know, video or his name in the search engine on YouTube, that's mostly, you know, what you see. You see Jay-Z next to his name all the time. Jay-Z, you know, Dame Dash snaps, you know, Dame Dash doesn't hold back when addressing Jay-Z, you know, all these different things are tied to him and Cameron and, you know, stuff like that. And I feel as though, again, like, you know, when it comes down to it, it's, it comes a point in time where, you know, beefing at a certain age, especially when you're in a certain tax bracket or whatever, I think that it's just, it's again, not only irrelevant, but it's kind of a waste of energy. So, in my personal opinion, in my personal opinion, I think that Dame should probably focus more of his energy on promoting, some of the, the good things that he's doing in business. Actually, I'm not saying that he doesn't do this. I'm saying that he should do more of this, because from what I'm seeing, and I think from what the average person is seeing, he is always responding, to what Jay-Z, well, not Jay-Z, but always responding to the questions that might be posed to him, that might be presented to him and given to him during these interviews about Jay. And I think it's kind of like repetitive. And I think that when it comes time to it, I think as a guest, and again, this is all speculation, I think that as a guest, there comes a point in time to where, you could actually say, hey, listen, I don't want to talk about that. The same way he did on the Breakfast Club interview, literally the same way. Listen, let's not talk about that. This is what I want to talk about. Or, hey, listen, before we get into this interview, what are some of the things that you're going to ask me? Why? Because I don't want to keep on going down this, road of, Rockefeller memories and things like that, because I feel like he's kind of like exhausted that, more than he should have had to. And, the lesson that I feel like we can all learn from this is, one, if possible, depending on how things roll out, if possible, I think that we should definitely, as, businessmen and businesswomen, we should definitely keep all personal information outside of the public. I think that even the reasoning, behind, disagreements, and splits when it comes to, partnership in business should always be kept private. It's kind of like with, when you're in a relationship with a girl, if you're, whatever it is that you're into, if you're in a relationship with someone, certain things are just not meant for social media. The reasons why, even if it was adultery that was going on, somebody was cheating, messing around, or if you just wasn't happy or not fulfilled, like a lot of people would like to say, that's not anybody else's business except for, the people who are actually involved. And in all actuality, it's like, we always find ourselves in front of the camera, and these are people who I look up to. So I'm speaking also as a spectator and as a fan. It's definitely disheartening and kind of a little, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of scary a little bit, because it's kind of like, okay, is this what I have to look forward to? Because these examples of falling outs have always been, put out there in the forefront. People in business, partners split all the time. But it seems like in this business, I'm talking about the, hip hop, entertainment business, the music world, those splits are actually often highlighted. And it's nothing that's really actually being, taught, or there's no lessons that are being put on the table as far as, hey, listen, this is the part that I played in it. This is where I feel as though I was accountable. And as far as, maybe this might have rubbed the other person the wrong way. Next time in hindsight, or if I had a chance to do it again, I probably would go about handling things this way or that way. It's not that. It's literally always a bickering, going back and forth about, it was this person's fault, it was that person's fault. And, this person can't dress or whatever. I remember back when he tried to talk to this girl and she chose me over him or whatever. That's the type of conversations that we get most often. And I think that that's kind of sad, man. It's kind of sad. It's definitely sad because, when it's all said and done, these are all people who we, 9 to 5 aspiring entrepreneurs, artists, businessmen and women, this is who we look up to sometimes. And, unfortunately, our role models aren't necessarily the best examples of what to do while in business currently and what to do if things don't necessarily work out in our favor. So, and also we got to keep in mind too, just to keep it all the way 100. These people have been talking about, when I say these people, I'm not trying to, say it like that, but when you talk about Oskino, when you talk about Dame Dash, when you talk about, well, I'll just use those two people, in general. As an example, they've been talking about him for well over 10 years. And, you haven't really heard too much of a response. As a matter of fact, the only time I've ever heard Jay actually talk about Dame is, I think he was actually accepting an award for the Hip Hop Hall of Fame, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And he said something along the lines of, hey, listen, even though me and Dame aren't actually, don't actually see eye to eye, I can't take away what he's done, while he was actually with me, and while we were actually working together, and without his contribution, I wouldn't be where I was today, or whatever, or maybe the turnout wasn't going to be, or might not have been the same. So I still feel as though that regardless of what was being said, even in a negative light, from what it seems like on the surface, Jay still had something to say that was positive. But from that point on, we've still continued to see over the years, negative things that were being said, about Jay from Dame, as well as others as well. And so, him just saying 2 lines about, teeth tumbling out your mouth, and sometimes, somehow he's still to blame. It's not like he's targeting you or going out his way to, tear you down or anything like that. But you got to think about it. It's like 10 plus years of gossip, rumors, things that were being, spread from your perspective about him. He said 2 lines. This is a response of over 10 years of things that, regardless of how repetitive it was, these are ongoing conversations that, have been had between Dame and these other platforms about this one man. So at the end of the day, people have a right to defend themselves. But nonetheless, what do you guys think about it? Do you think that, Dame is overreacting? Do you think that Jay had a right to say something? Should he had been quiet and actually not addressed it at all, and, allowed, the conversations, revolving around his name to continue on without giving it any light, any energy, or, any life, I guess, if you will. And, when it's all said and done, man, what do you think that we can learn from this? Do you think that, how do you think that us as aspiring entrepreneurs or people who are actually currently in the business, how do you feel as though, if we were in that situation, how do you feel as though we should have, how would have you responded to something like that? If you were Jay, how would you have responded to, someone like a Dame Dash or Oskino actually talking about you? If the shoe was on the other foot, and let's just say you felt as though that, one person did you wrong or double crossed you, or, sold out, I guess, if you will, from Dame's perspective or Oskino's perspective, how would you respond to that? How would you feel about that? About how long do you think that you would go on and addressing these issues before you would actually be able to, move on completely, or do you think that you would just have the right to talk about whatever it is that you wanted to talk about for however long? I don't know. I mean, me personally, I think that if I was Jay, I probably would have done the same thing. At the end of the day, he's still an artist. He understands how the industry works. If he has a project coming around the corner, I'm not really too sure. But this will be the right way to go about, not only just addressing the issues, but to start getting your name back in the circuit, you feel me, in a positive light, and start to get people ready and warmed up for something that you might have coming down the line. Honestly, again, in conclusion and the wrap up is, not to really make this too long and drawn out, but, making comments about, him having dreads and now he has an afro, and that being a wig, and him not being able to dress, and now you feel as though he's not the person, when I'm talking about Dame now, oh, that's not the person who I would have signed back in 96 or 94, whenever you guys got together. I mean, that's really irrelevant. You're talking about over 30 years later. You can't sit here and, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say that, you felt bad for somebody to, because of what he sounded like. Regardless of whether that's how you feel or not, it does come across as a bit, bitter and also childish, if I'm being completely honest and transparent, because, that's something, again, that like a kid would say. Like, he's talking about business. He's talking about, responding to some of the rumors that he had around his name. And, the response that you have for him is, oh, well, your breath stinks. Maybe your breath used to stink, and, you can't dress, and I actually felt bad. That's not somebody who I would have signed back in the day. I actually felt bad for him. And I'm really honestly not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. But again, tell me what you guys think. If you haven't already done so by now, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So every time that we drop, you'll get a updated notification on your phone or your laptop or whatever that we just released the material. And in the comment section, man, talk to me. Let me know what you think about it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you kind of on the fence? But again, until next time, Dre Lloyd, New Face, New Jersey, Straight Lace Network.